and he doesn't feel like he can be inside her because another man was inside him. And she's like, you're an X-Men. We have someone inside us all the time. Just get in me and you'll get over it. I mean, I think that was the conversation they were having. Hi there, and welcome to Hav and Charles Talk Comics. I am one of your hosts, Charles Herring, and I'm here with your other host, Javier Gonzalez. Hi, Hav. How you doing?
Hey, Charles. I'm good. How are you?
Better now. So today, we're going to talk about two comics, as usual. One suggested by me and one suggested by Hav, and the comic I suggested was Civil War, and the comic Hav suggested was New X-Men by Grant Morrison. I have no idea which one came first, but Hav will tell us that when I give him a chance to talk. Hav, which one came first?
New X-Men came first by just a smidge in the year 2001.
Excellent. 2000. I'm sorry, I stepped on your joke.
No, it's okay. And I need to look, it's still on my brain. I overslept and am still embarrassed, and I apologize. So yeah, I'm kind of excited because I liked both of these, but I get the feeling you did not. So we usually do the one I suggested first because it usually comes first chronologically when on release date, and form holds. Surprise, surprise.
I tried.
No, you know what? You went back. You did go back. Well, let's just jump into it. Let's start with any housekeeping off the top or anything, Charles?
No, there's nothing. We seem to be back on schedule. Hopefully this will drop on time. Although it's a tighter turnaround, we got to get on we need to get me a bit of a extra time, but we do our best. So yeah, let's talk about New X-Men because it was the one I liked more out of the two of them, and I've read both of them multiple times, and yeah, don't really like either one the more I read them.
Okay, and that's funny because I enjoyed rereading both of them.
Now, don't get me wrong. Yeah, there are things about both of them that I like. I do like the X-Men better in this reading for the same reason I liked a number of things on reread that Grant Morrison wrote that I may not have liked as much the first time. You can go back to Doom Patrol. When I read Doom Patrol originally, it really wasn't my cup of tea. But then going back and reading Doom Patrol, knowing that Grant Morrison identifies as non-binary, I read a whole lot more into it. It made it a deeper, more interesting read, and the same thing happened with the X-Men comic we just read.
Agree. I didn't even think of that when I read it, when I suggested it, but yeah, there were things that I started looking for. You've mentioned that before, or we've talked about that before, so this time reading it, I definitely... Okay, so let's just go get into it. So when he's taking over, obviously, an ongoing series. This was not just, but it was X-Men. And then when he took over with Frank Quietly, they changed the title to New X-Men, but didn't change the numbering or anything like that. So X-Men, just for some context for those of our loyal or new listeners that were reading comics back then or know about comics, X-Men was launched back when it was just blowing up. Comic books, the X-Men, and this was the title that Jim Lee and Chris Claremont were co-plotting. He was doing the art before he took off for Image with number one. So that's the one that sold a bazillion, like literally over 1 million copies when X-Men number one came out in the 90s. I want to say early 90s. So it was huge, and it was still good. I mean, doing well. But then Morrison takes over Frank Quietly, and they rebrand it, and he's got to pick up some of the plot stuff that's going on in both titles. And apparently they gave him a lot of latitude because right off the bat, he kills all the mutants on Genosha, if you remember that part. So
yes, I remember the genocide.
Literally, I think they call it genocide.
They called it because it was a genocide.
Yeah,
they murdered 16 million people. Was it 16 million people? That number sticks in my head because again, they murdered 16 million people, and I don't fall into this idea that mutants aren't people.
Okay, well, I mean that's your opinion, and you stick to. I'm joking. I'm joking. Uh,
I didn't think we were going to have an argument about this, but okay.
so that's where I draw my line in the sand. No,
I
so
am perfectly willing to have this fight with morality on my side. How do you
no,
feel
so
about immigration, Hav? Anyway,
so okay, so all that to say, okay, there's the part where there's the independently wealthy dude that's wanting to transform himself into something else, and yeah, reading those parts when he's harvesting organs and things, it was weird. It was interesting.
no, there's some really weird things in there. Some of the stuff was better than others. I think it was the abruptness of the start I didn't really like. It's just what was it? It was Useless and Wolverine in a plane with a brand new mutant that we've never seen before, just
Yeah,
flying somewhere.
with Slim with Cyclops.
I said Useless.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right.
Useless Wolverine and the new the what turned out to be the expendable mutant. See, wow,
In the
you didn't
like
get
first
that.
issue,
You
isn't it
just woke
first
up.
the first issue? It was a
Yeah,
genocide.
in that. Well, no, the genocide isn't the first issue. The first issue is them flying to go and check out what's going on. Where the bald chick, which should have been a tip, the bald chick is taking Trask's. Is it Trask?
Yeah, a Trask. A Trask.
Trask. Yeah, the nephew of the
Bolivar
mainline
Trask.
Bolivar Trash, who in X-Men is basically Hitler.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only way to describe him is he wants to eradicate mutants, and there is it is a bunch of sentinels that can replicate themselves using whatever's around, except the bald antagonist of this story, this small female bald antagonist of this story, needs someone that has his DNA in order to manipulate this. So the original bald guy in a wheelchair sends Cyclops, Wolverine, and this new mutant that they have picked up probably in a previous, I'm assuming it was in the previous comic, right? Or is this a brand new one?
I think it's right, or it's right at the beginning of the first comic. It's
Okay.
it's super. It's like a couple panels, man.
Yeah, they send them off into a South American jungle. Was it in South America?
Yeah,
A
that
South
sounds
American
right.
jungle, somewhere in the jungles of South America, and they're immediately shot down and captured. I took a lot from the mutant. I sometimes try to pick out, since he has been known to put himself in stories, Grant Morrison. They have been known to put themselves into stories. It literally, in the case of Animal Man,
Yeah,
in the case of
yeah,
Animal Man. In this one, I kind of felt like the three-faced mutant that had no other powers other than three faces was him.
okay, yeah, okay.
At
Did not
least
think of
I
that.
wonder that. I don't mean that in a negative way about him. That one to me was a possibility. Not to, God forbid, go deep into imagery and things, because this is not that podcast. But
Yeah,
Hav and I like the surface elements of comic books. For deep introspection, I'm sure there's a better podcast for you.
I didn't even think. Yeah, you know what? I didn't think of it because that mutants didn't really have powers per
Yeah,
se,
he
right?
had no powers. He just literally has one face that has a left face, a middle face, and a right face.
Yeah.
And if you really want to get into it, male, female, non-binary.
Yeah,
I mean,
man. Okay.
you could really do this may have nothing to do with that character in any way whatsoever, or it might be glaringly obvious for people without their head stuck up their ass like the two of us. So,
That's exactly. I way over my head just until you pointed that out. So was Cassandra Nova the big bad? Was
yes,
that too on the nose for you?
Cassandra Nova.
The bald chick.
Yes, that is too on the nose for me. But hey,
I
some people aren't good with names. And in
I
fairness, one of those
yeah.
people is me. I am very bad with names in every way whatsoever. So I get it. So let's not make fun of people who have trouble with naming things.
No, I guess I remember when I read it liking the bad guy and the big reveal. Did you read a bunch into this run when you did read it back in the day?
I don't think so. I think I just did not care for it enough that I kind of stopped. I think I've read all of this before.
Okay.
Because some of it was familiar, especially the beginning of it. The part where they went off to rescue the other mutants, I did not remember as much, but I think that's because I haven't read that more than once. Because I think I've tried to read this more than once more. So I think I read that far, and then I think I picked it up again on Marvel Unlimited and read up close to that point, and I was like, oh yeah, this is this run. Yep, still not that interested in it, and moved on.
Okay.
And this is what I've said many, many times. That does not mean this comic is not good. That means all comics are not for all people. That's why there is so much out there. I've never this one is such a team book because there is no, I mean, in however it was 137 comic pages, and it really was, there was no fluff in that.
No.
In that there was no extra covers, there was no nothing. It was 100, because when I was reading it I was like, oh, it's only, because I fell behind. I was still reading it last night. And I was like, oh, well, that's not a problem because there's going to be 20-some pages of fluff. And when it ended, I'm like, okay, let's see what... And it ended on page 137. I was like, oh, okay.
Well, and on a cliffhanger, too. Like, I was like, they have a lot of stuff to wrap up here. And then I was like, oh, that's right. There's a lot more volumes of this. Duh. I was like, eh.
Well, they have to send... This ends with Xavier going off into space to fuck his space girlfriend, except big spoil, he's actually not Chuck. He is
Cassandra.
Okay,
so look, spoiler alert, if you haven't read this, it did come out more than 20 years ago. Like 22 years ago, 23. So his sister...
I like how he corrected himself after getting the math right.
Yeah.
You said about 20 years ago, 22... Or 23 years ago. Well, you said it was in 2000. Oh, sorry. It's not that hard of math. Huh?
Hey, math. Hey, circa 20 years ago. Circa.
Well, no, circa 2001.
Oh, okay.
The exact date it came out.
Circa Earth. Okay. So we find out Cassandra Nova was Charles Xavier's twin in the womb.
Did he eat her?
That he absorbed? No, that he either absorbed or killed in the womb?
Killed in the womb? Yeah, I don't know.
It's all sorts of funky weird. And then somehow it's almost like, and I meant to look this up. You remember in Legion, the show, and then also in the comics, the just purely psychic entity that's without form?
Isn't that his son, Legion? Or it invades his son?
It invades his son.
Is
the
it
bad
Legion?
guy in Legion. The bad guy in Legion.
The bad guy in Legion. Yeah.
The show and the comic book.
Yeah, I was thinking about the comic book because did you ever watch the second season of Legion? Because I never did.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
No, I did.
I need to. Because I remember loving the first season and then just never watching the second one.
It gets even weirder.
I don't think that's possible.
No,
I know it's possible.
Wow.
Okay.
To the point where at the end I was like, okay, I'm just going to finish this. Not that it was bad. It was just...
It made you think, and you don't like that.
Yeah, no, I like my popcorn, just nice and fluffy.
I got you.
Hey, speaking of popcorn, have you watched the new Spider-Man verse? No, me neither. Have you watched? And it just came out. You haven't watched the new Flash?
No. The next thing I'm going to watch is the new Spider-Man.
Yeah, us too.
I have to do that.
Julie actually wants to see it.
Well, of course, Julie is all that's good and pure in the world.
And and she liked the first one. In fact, I was like, "Hey, do you want me to watch this with that?" She's like, "Ah." I mean, she didn't go high voice like that. She was like, "You know what? I liked the first one." So I was like, "Oh, okay, all right, yeah."
And you're like, I guess I'll let you go see a comic book movie with me.
Well, I got to check with Charles and Caesar and see if I'm allowed, and then
we'll allow it. Okay, hold on. I'm going to do the first save point, and hopefully I won't... okay, that's where you hit save, not where you hit pause. Okay.
Yay! The first transport is away.
Yes, we're still recording. Hooray, We're still recording.
Yay! I went down a big bunny trail, So, yeah, Cassandra Nova is the big bad guy.
Well, she's tiny, but yes.
Yes, but incredibly... overpowered.
She's overpowered. It's one of these overpowered, unkillable, fully grown fetuses. At least the Ventura brothers, they had the twin have massive health problems that was
That's right.
Yeah, no, the Venture Brothers did this. I've been watching a lot of repeating. I've been rewatching Scrubs because you mentioned the Scrubs podcast, and I know
Yeah.
this is a tangent, but it's so very interesting because a lot of the writers, because we're listening to their podcast, I'm listening to the podcast now too, and they were talking about some of the writers went to Community, and those Community writers worked with Harmon, so they're also, I'm sure, writing the show Sarah Chalk is on, Rick and Morty.
Yeah.
So with those right there, so we've got Harmon doing that, and we had Bill Lawrence doing Scrubs. There are a number of things in both the Community and in Rick and Morty that are just almost, if I did not know it was quite possibly the same writers that were writing it, just flat fucking ripoffs. Have you watched Rick and Morty with the toilet episode?
No.
Okay, so there's a Rick and Morty episode where he has a private toilet, often in the thing that he doesn't want anybody to use. In the arc with Michael J. Fox on Scrubs, the janitor has a roof toilet. I mean, and it is the same damn thing. It's the same damn idea. It's like, holy crap.
Hey, you can get away with
fine.
it?
Well, you can get away with it. It's fine. Especially if you were the writer that wrote that, or you were working in the room and worked on it. They're not going to say, hey, I can't believe, because you recycle stuff. But it's in sitcoms, steal from sitcoms. You look at one sitcom and go, oh, I'm going to use the whole arc of this and use these characters.
Well, and then if somebody calls them on it, they can say it's an homage or...
Oh, yeah, you can absolutely do that. And in some ways, the toilet thing quite possibly was an homage. Or it could have literally just been written by the same person.
Yeah.
It's not an homage, it's me making another take on it. That's because in the roof toilet one, if you remember, the janitor is absolutely livid that everybody knows about it. And
everybody starts using it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I do kind of remember that.
Okay, in the Rick and Morty episode, Rick is livid that one person used it, so he tracks him down via DNA. So it's sorry,
okay.
It's just I'm consuming.
Is that the most recent episode, most recent season of Rick and Morty, or do you know?
No, I think it was 2 seasons ago. I'm not, or 2 or 3 seasons ago. So I don't think it was the most recent season.
I'm just realizing, just like most things, I stopped watching it after however many seasons, like the first 1 or 2.
Is it the
it's
fans?
probably on season 5 or something, or 3 at least, 4.
Is it the fans that made you want to do that?
No, you know what? No.
That was.
I heard about all the stuff that he got in. No, I mean I heard about all the stuff that he got into.
Oh yeah, and that went away because I suspect money was paid. Because he's like, I'm vindicated. I'm like, yeah, I don't know, because the person that said all the stuff isn't saying anything, so somebody wrote a check. So we'll see what else happens.
Is he back on the show? Wasn't he like kicked off the show?
He was slightly removed, and people were freaking out about it until they realized like 85,000 people can do the voices he does on Rick and Morty, and the writing he did was beyond minuscule.
Okay, yeah, because, well, yeah.
Yeah, no, his writing, most of them are on the group stuff, and he's a voice guy. Harmon is handling the writing and the staff writing and all of that stuff. He was the creator.
Well, and that's what I found out, too, listening to this podcast, is that they can list a whole bunch of people as writers. Mm-hmm. And they have staff writers, and the creators, the showrunner, can choose to be one of the writers or not. It's up to them.
Generally, the show writer, according to Bill Lawrence and the podcast I just listened to about that when he was on, the showrunner is a writer and a lot of times rewrites every script, and because it gives it that same feel. So it feels like the show, because that's the thing when you come in to write, when you write a TV show, is you have to write it like the show is. You can't just go crazy with it unless you're trying to do a backdoor pilot. That's the only time they get to do.
Yeah.
And generally those shows are terrible. Sorry,
nice.
having watched them. Huh?
That was your Charles Barkley right there?
Yeah, probably.
Terrible.
Yeah. Terrible. Anywho, we do a comic book podcast. I'm sorry to dive into other serial type things. It's just there's so much, to bring it back to comic books, there's just so many things within comic books that is just absolutely lifted from one another. And even among like Marvel we did this with X-Men, now let's go do it with Spider-Man, or we did this with Spider-Man, let's go do this with Captain America, or let's go do it with who's it what's it. If we get to our next thing, let's do Civil War, Squadron Supreme, so or Civil War II.
Well,
So
and I like cereal. I like Raisin Bran is my go-to right now, and then Frosted Flakes is one of my favorites.
I've never really liked. The only reason I liked cereal as a kid was because I got to pour sugar in it.
Well, or it just comes with
Well,
sugar like heaped on it
well, see,
already.
my mom wouldn't buy any of that, but I could pour sugar in it on Saturday morning when I made it for myself. If I had it any other time, she just, nope, here it is, and you don't get sugar on it. It was just gross. So,
I remember. Okay, sorry. Oh no, I'm not sorry. As a kid, went really young, like super young, early. Like I think it was when you were dating myself, ourselves, Saturday morning cartoons,
yes.
and when the news they would inundate advertise, TV commercials so that you knew when the new lineup was coming out, and it was started at 7 a.m. sharp. So you had to be up early. I'm up first thing before anybody, and I'm making myself cereal, and I find what I thought was the sugar to put in the cereal,
Hmm.
and I dump a whole bunch of white powdery stuff in it. No, it wasn't cocaine. It was flour. I put in.
I didn't think it was cocaine.
I know. I don't know why I went
No
with
one
white
listening
powdery
thought it
stuff.
was cocaine.
It would be weird though.
If someone listening
No.
thought it was cocaine, email us through the website at havandcharles.com, where you can email Hav. It says, send Hav an email up at the top of the screen. Tell him if you think his family just had a block of cocaine sitting in the kitchen for a young Hav to find.
Well, like a tub of it. No, so I just put in like a big scoop of
A
flour
flower.
and then like just dug into it with a big bite and was like, "Oh my god, what did I just do? What
This
is
is the
this?"
grossest thing ever.
It was so
Or did
bad.
you go, tastes like
No,
paste.
I did. Oh, it was like not like retch but it was like
Yuck.
just
Yes.
spit. Yeah, it was. So yeah, that was my cereal joke. So you can mark that for that was you said cereal and I did that. I'm proud of myself. I'm figuratively patting myself on the back. I'm proud of that joke.
If you don't think Hav should be proud of himself for this joke, email us at
What else? So I did I liked it.
good.
Just to get back to the comic, so many of the X-Men stuff just reared their ugly heads, or not ugly, just it's been a while since I read multiple issues of the X-Men like this that wasn't part of an event, because we've
Right.
read, what do we read? Mutant Massacre. Have we read? There's other. I'm sure there's other stuff. It's just I remembered the whole thing with Scott, Summer, Cyclops, and Jean Grey. Their on again, off again thing. She's obviously back from the dead this time.
Yeah,
Um,
she's back from the dead, but he has been possessed
tra-
by.
Traumatized
Well,
somehow.
he was possessed by. I'm guessing that was the. What was that bad movie they made where they had the four horsemen of the four X-Men of the Apocalypse?
Apocalypse.
Oh, it was
Apocalypse.
Apocalypse and Eben
Yeah.
Sor. Is that
Yeah, that's Apocalypse.
okay? So he was one of the. Wasn't he when they did that? One of the four guys he was taken over by, because he was talking about being taken over by Eben Sor.
You might be right.
Yeah,
That
so
sounds.
he was possessed and he doesn't feel like he can be inside her because another man was inside him. And she's like, you're an X-Men. We have someone inside us all the time. Just get in me and you'll get over it. I mean, I think that was the conversation they were having. So
You're go ahead. No, you
in
cracked yourself
fair
up. Go ahead. Go
in
with it.
fairness, no, I'm actually trying to get back on track on that. He's very conflicted because of all these things that have happened to they're and he's seen it's where his character, Cyclops' character, is really starting to get interesting throughout the course of X-Men, because he is becoming more radicalized because he keeps seeing the other side of this mutant equation. He's gone from, I am just going to goose step my little ass. That is unfair. Really unfair. He's just going to follow his liberal, idealistic, except kind of an asshole Charles Xavier and do whatever Charles Xavier says. And then he's going to start seeing the other side and what the other side is saying, and take what Charles says about, oh no, it's all just peaceful, and say, no, I like what you're saying and we have to live in harmony, but just sitting there and taking it is not going to be the way to achieve this, as his character grows and becomes an adult, because they've really let him, he really is a broader character than I will give you and Caesar credit for, because in fairness, the character y'all learned to love wasn't this guy. I think we've had this conversation before.
Yeah, yeah.
So they've really done a good job developing it, and it's impressive too, him being in this kind of team book, the development that he has had, because I mean a lot of these characters don't get that chance to grow like that and change like that, and he has.
He decades
Yes.
of him being a certain way, and I know time is different in comic books,
But still,
but I wrote down where you're a good little soldier
yes.
for Xavier and his quote unquote dream, and just following orders and just doing lock and step whatever Chuck says.
Mm-hmm.
And now after this most recent time of God knows how many times he's been mind controlled,
Mm-hmm.
or Charles Xavier's made a mistake, or decided to do I was going to say X but Y was right,
Xavier,
or vice versa.
Yeah, Xavier makes terrible decisions. Now,
really, so in this one,
hold on. That's the real big problem with comic books having to always have, and a lot of times with any kind of media, always have, there has to be a problem, so someone has to have the problem, but they say, hey, here's this incredibly intelligent guy. He's always going to make this stupid fucking choice. And it's like, wait a minute. There was going back to sitcoms, the voice actor that used to play Apu before they decided to get rid of him, and does a lot of
Hank Azaria.
Hank Azaria, thank you. Hank Azaria came up with this term, and it was because he was on a sitcom, and it wasn't a great sitcom. And it seemed like every week, one character would do something completely out of character that was absolutely stupid, which would be what would drive the narrative for that week. And he said he would come in, they said, and say, okay, which one of us is holding the idiot ball today? Who gets the idiot ball this week? That's that going on with this. It's like, okay, so which one of these characters is going to be the idiot this week to move the narrative in some way that we want to do to explore? It's that
you gotta have somebody.
It's that poor writing, though. That's kind of a poor writing thing. That is that they have to make horrible decisions. Are you going to talk about a horrible decision that he made in this, where he?
Well, it's Cassandra Nova.
I was going to say Cassandra. It wasn't that was okay. Yeah, Cassandra Nova, when she sneakily takes him over, actually makes the decision that is a horrible decision. That's
to out them as mutants and all that, which I swear they've done 23,000 times, and then retconned out of existence. And so it's interesting. No, and speaking of lazy writing, I just rewatched in the background Deadpool 2, and I don't know how many times he breaks the fourth wall. He's like, well, that's just lazy writing.
Oh, yeah. Except I was like, I thought you were going to say Deadpool 2 was lazy writing. I was like, no.
No, he just, breaks the fourth wall, and there's some part where he just, well, that's just lazy writing, but okay. It's Grant Morrison playing by certain rules in a certain sandbox. Sure. So you got the new twist in this is you got the new bad guy, uber powered, like you said. You also have Zorn, Xorn.
Yeah, I was not aware of Zorn. The name seems familiar, but I don't know that much about him.
So the big reveal on that, again, spoiler, is eventually and seriously, if you're really going to read more of this, and you should turn off your podcast now or fast forward.
Okay. I mean, I can not save it. I can just shut off your recording.
You should just delete it. You should just delete this whole thing right now. No, it's Magneto. It turns out to be Magneto.
Zorn is Magneto? What?
Yeah.
But Magneto was dead. You know what? Hold on. Magneto died in Genosa, which I knew he didn't die. Yeah, I know, but I know, but
well, nobody ever comes back from the dead, and
but Zorn has been locked up his entire life in a thing, and Magneto is, and it's got a sun in his head. And why did Grant Morrison do this, or did somebody else do this later?
No, that was his.
That's part of it. Now,
sorry, gosh darn it,
son of a bitch. Now I have to read it.
I swear, I remember, and I looked it up. It's the big, but then they retcon it that it's, so after Morrison's done, I swear to God, and I Googled this because I was 90-something% positive Zorn's big reveal was Magneto. Then it turns out that it really wasn't Magneto, because they retconned that eventually with a different writer who came after Morrison. And I don't remember how they explain away all the, because he was leaving apparently up until the big reveal, which isn't even, it's many issues down the line. because Morrison's on this for a while, and with Quietly, he's leaving Easter eggs or clues. I don't remember reading anywhere that, ooh, this is Magneto in this little section. So there's that, which I was reading like, okay, I know this guy turns out to be Magneto, but it didn't make, like you said, decades locked up and a son for a head. And I'm like, what is going on? And then I Googleized it. So, hey, there you go. How you like them apples?
Not very much, actually.
So there's that. And then, okay, so going back to the whole.
So why was he going to become a black hole and absorb the entire Earth in 3 minutes if he turns out to be Magneto, and Magneto really would only want to kill the humans?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. On again, off again, Jean and Scott. Then you got the scene, issue, panels where she's going to Wolverine.
Yes.
My God.
I liked that little vignette because he's meditating to help boost his healing powers, because he went through, he and Scott went through a lot, including Scott murdering the three-faced mutant. I'm sorry, that's unfair. He put him out of his misery because he wasn't going to live. But it was kind of jarring. It was like, whoa, all right. So he's meditating. Jean had just had the conversation recently had the conversation with Summers about how he wasn't ever going to have sex with her because he'd had a man inside him, and that changed him.
Yes. Sorry, go ahead. I am so easily amused. Go ahead.
And so he's sitting in the woods, and a deer comes up to him, and he starts to talk because he also senses her. And I like the idea that he is sitting so peacefully. This is Wolverine, and he is so peaceful that a deer is coming up to him in the same way that she's coming up to him, because he, at times and throughout this is the Logan I really like. This centered, peaceful, he's lived a long time. He doesn't have all of his memories, but deep down inside, he's such a good dude that people are drawn to him when he's not actively murdering other people. I like that.
They make a point that it's not like he doesn't feel pain.
Yes.
I mean, the reason he's meditating is he is dealing with the fact that, I think he even says he was burned alive.
Yes.
And X, Y, and Z, and he's having to center himself here.
Yes, so to deal with the pain, and probably his healing thing's the same reason he drinks so much, is he can't really get drunk because it processes it so quickly. He probably can't take painkillers. So if it's overacting, he has to, if it's taking too long to heal, he has to deal with it. And
I think she says he's been in the woods for like 4 days.
Yes.
Just sitting, like doing that.
Yes.
Just
sitting.
And so she comes to him, and she's a broken record, me and Scott, and they kiss for a second, and then he is like, same story, different day, and me and you never were going to work, and walks away. So there's that. He won't
let her cheat on her husband, who's not really being her husband.
Yeah.
In the marital bed.
Right. And then you got the beginnings of Emma Frost, the White Queen from the Hellfire Club, who's now, after Genosha's, the genocidal attack on Genosha, is now an X-Men for all intents and purposes right off the bat. And she's developed this. Oh, this is where you get the diamond form.
Yes. I didn't know that came in this late, because she's been around for a while.
Yeah.
And I thought she always had the diamond form.
No, Grant Morrison apparently secondary mutation because of the attack. But you get the beginnings of her and Scott, which of course becomes a huge thing.
The beginnings. She is absolutely just trying to fuck him.
Well, she shows up with like champagne and some glasses and
her hot ass. Yes.
Yeah, and like, hey, you ever notice I don't wear any clothes?
Yeah. Hey, you want to fuck? Here's some champagne.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all been there. Normally, she says no when I show up with champagne and say, hey, you want to fuck? No. Okay.
Well, that's because usually they don't know who you are, and you're just knocking on doors. It's weird.
I have champagne.
Right. And also, when you're wearing that weird leisure robe and nothing else,
I look good in that.
That just barely comes above your knees.
I'm going to post a picture on Twitter, and y'all can decide how
open,
good I look in that.
It's kind of just barely
Well, you
got
to show what you got.
Sure. I'm just saying that's why we've had some issues with your neighbors.
Whatever.
I know, prudes. What else? Yeah, so lots being set up because it ends on a huge cliffhanger, I think. Chuck is going out into space, but it's not Chuck, it's Cassandra.
And
You
Cassandra
got
is very excited about the giant Lishar.
spaceship
S-
Shiar. I always said
Shiar.
Shiar.
No,
Yeah,
I
Shiar.
put an L. Shiar, the Shiar ship that can destroy suns or something. That she's all giddy about being able to just absolutely destroy. It's the Death Star, basically. Hee hee. We're gonna go fly around in the Death Star and Star Killer base, all folded into itself.
Yeah, because Charles Xavier's on again, off again, or I guess always on, but just kind of long distance relationship as the leader of a space empire, like you do. Lilandra something, I forget, I think.
I didn't forget. I never knew. I mean, they've mentioned her, but I can't hold that weird a thing. Just
Hey,
throwaway name.
I wrote this I wrote this down. So just a couple of things, but I did write this down. When you were talking about Hank Azaria, he wasn't talking about Brockmire, was he?
What?
The TV show?
No.
That where who's
No. This
holding
was
the
this
idiot
was
ball?
before Brockmire came out. This was sometime early in his career. He was on a show.
Okay.
And I didn't
All
hear
right.
him. He may have mentioned that, but I heard this from somewhere else. I'm sure he told people, and that's where, or it got out that he called it "Who's carrying the idiot ball today?"
Okay, because I was just telling. Okay.
He's been in a lot of short-lived kind of things. So,
Yeah, and the one thing like that's gone on for decades, The Simpsons.
Yes.
Because I was just telling somebody the other day about Brockmire,
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like it's the evil mirror image of Ted Lasso, the first season anyway.
Yeah, I think the first season. I gotta say, the first season is the best season. And I haven't I didn't watch. I think I watched 2 seasons, and then
There's 3.
It
3
may
or
be
4?
because he became the commissioner of baseball. I watched episode 1, and I was like, yeah, I think I'm done.
Yeah. No, the first season is good. Great, even.
Yeah, it was one of the most amazing things I've ever seen. The second season was okay, but the down and out instead of the coming back is better. Although I did like him getting sober. I liked some. It's like, okay, that's a good arc.
Yeah, I forget who I was talking to about. I was like, okay, Ted Lasso's all glass half full, happy. I know there's issues, of course. It's a show, but
because they're people, and even happy people have things that make them sad.
well, not on like Ozzie and Harriet or
Well, TV has
Dick Van Dyke.
evolved. TV is involved. Yeah, there's some evolution of the way narrative stories are told, and even in sitcoms, they can have some sorts of things.
We just started watching the documentary about Mary Tyler Moore. That's why Dick Van Dyke came up in my brain. Really interesting. It was on I think it's an HBO documentary. It was good.
Cool.
It starts out like almost a cold open with this guy. I think it's either in between Dick Van Dyke and Mary Tyler Moore show or right. He is just asking the most nowadays asinine. It's really it's a good watch because do you think a woman can have a family and be a career woman, and wouldn't she be neglecting her children? And
yeah, the most
what
misogynist, sexist
Oh
bullshit
my
that
it is
was every day, whatever.
That's just the way it was, and it was really, really interesting. Her wearing pants on the Dick Van Dyke show was a huge thing.
Yeah. Some of the things that we still deal with that right now. I mean, you've seen the press junkets with Scarlett Johansson, and when she's with Hulk, when they ask stupid ass questions, and she's basically not going to answer them, and he's like, well, why don't you ask me what kind of work I had to do to get into shape? Nobody asked me. I mean, just the very quiet, Mark Ruffalo. Thank you. The very quiet. Hey, you're not asking the same kind of questions, and they're very gender biased questions that you ask. Brie Larson just won't answer stuff like that, and the Between Two Ferns bit that they did to point that out, which was you didn't see that?
No.
Okay, so she was on Between Two Ferns, and he says, so you're known to not like to answer inappropriate questions. So I like that. How old were you when you first started to menstruate? That was her reaction in the outtakes, because I saw that on the outtakes, and she's got her stoic face, and then she just loses it. Because
that is, I haven't. Oh my God! You know what? That was one of my favorite. Is that new? I mean, he's not still doing that, is he? Or I
have no idea if he's still doing that. No, but
how old is that? I wonder. Okay,
I don't. It was very. It's old, and it might have been part of the movie. Did you ever watch the movie?
I did watch the
Okay,
movie.
because the movie was good when they tried
Yeah,
to
I did
drown.
watch the
I need to
movie.
rewatch that because that was funny as hell when they
I
tried to
forgot
drown.
about the movie until you just said that.
Well, it's not like
I
yeah,
know. It wasn't.
it was awesome, but
Yeah.
it's a different level of it's an awesome for different reasons because it
Did
was
they
so much
kill
fun.
Matthew McConaughey in it?
No,
Who
they
did they
just they
kill?
they no they didn't kill him. That they drowned him a little bit.
Okay.
He didn't die.
Okay. I'm gonna have to watch that. One of the last notes. So one of the guests. So it is Grant Morrison, Frank Quietly. There's a couple guest pencilers, artists. One of them, just to address it, is Ethan Van whatever, the Comicsgate guy,
Okay.
for one of the issues, which I thought was interesting. Now, given his huge Comicsgate, I'm gonna say presence.
Hmm.
He's just pandering to the lowest common denominator and has his comic that he's been getting crowdfunded forever and put out like one issue. I just pointed out because A, he's not a good person, and B, him working with Grant Morrison on this, given all his either real or fake to get money conservative views about why him as a poor white male is being squeezed out of the comics industry because he's such a good guy. I think is just really worth noting because of who he was working with, and on this level of comic, and then eventually just falls out of favor with everybody.
And and
And
and
good
also
riddance.
and also the kind of comic that the X-Men are.
Right. Oh God. Yeah.
I
Duh.
mean, the X-Men, the whole basis of the X-Men is about inclusion, is that we need to be a more open and better society. And that is not anything the right wing wants. Oh, dear Lord, no.
Yeah.
So, no, that is interesting. But I mean, we're going to see people like that throughout earlier comics.
Right. Then, just going back a couple, way more than a couple thoughts. The bad guy on Legion, Shadow King. Sorry, could
Okay,
not think of his name.
that's fine. I'm glad you came up with it.
So yeah, I mean, I thought I was going to enjoy it more
Hmm.
than I did. I liked it, but it reinforced, or not reinforced. That's not the right word. It just made me remember all the all the stuff about X-Men comic books, which I used to love, the soap opera especially,
Hmm.
and the rehashing of, hey, Xavier's dream versus the people that hate them, and Scott and Jean with Wolverine as the third, the love triangle. This did introduce some interesting things like Cassandra Nova and Zorn, the big reveal, but it was okay. And you've talked about this before, him having to pick up right where somebody else left off, you
Yeah.
know, and essentially saying, you know what, they made this whole island of mutants. Let's get rid of that. Oh yeah, let's just wipe them out
Yeah, the
right off the bat.
the grand comic reset.
Yeah.
What is
So
something I don't want to deal with? That. Let's have a genocide.
like you do.
Look, it'll be an unpopular take. Genocide is never the answer in any way.
Wow, that's a big limb you're going
I
out
know.
on there.
I know. And I'm sure we're going to get mail. Hey, if you disagree that genocide is never the answer, feel free to contact us via the website, havandcharles.com. Link up at the top that says send Hav mail, and you can dispute my theory that genocide is never right. And I will, by the way, if you do that, I will read it on the air or on the podcast, even if you tell me not to.
You said do.
Huh? I
You
said,
said do that. You said do.
Okay.
Yeah.
okay, okay.
It's the little things.
It is with you.
Even if they're little do's. Okay, I'm done. Hey, so we can. I'm ready to move on to Civil War whenever you are, Charles. This is usually where we do our, hey, here's how you contact us.
I've already plugged it twice.
Yeah, but then the Twitter is at Herring Red Reel, and for you, and then for me it's Hobgonzo Tweets, and then the comic book podcast is J and spelled out C Talk Comics for the Twitter.
That is true.
So there's all that.
For a while, I'm still willing to get on Twitter, which is getting less and less
Yeah,
all the time.
the big one's the website.
Yes,
It's easy.
it is.
I can do it.
It's Sunday morning, baby.
I don't know. It's actually Saturday morning. I don't get
It's
that.
easy,
Oh, okay.
easy like Sunday morning.
That's awesome. And every time I hear that song, sorry, I didn't get the reference. Did you ever see the Cat in the Hat movie?
No.
It was not good. But me and Julie went to the theater to see
It's
it.
why Dr. Seuss's wife refuses to let live action Dr. Seuss movies be made now.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure it was at my insistence because this is not a Julie movie. Surprise, surprise. If you
Yeah.
could guess which one of us. Huge Mike Myers fan, especially, of course,
Is that what
Wayne's
happened to him though?
World.
He made that and then he was done because pretty much
And
hasn't
that
made
Love,
anything. Oh God, the Love Guru.
I think this is before, I think this is before Love Guru. I think it happened like pretty
Well,
close
they
in
were probably
time.
making them around the same time period.
Well, he was just printing money at that point.
Yes.
I'm sure they were just throwing scripts at him. It was like, done, do it,
Yeah.
fine.
Well, he knew he had a finite life.
Hey, make that money, baby.
Hey.
And then I saw the Pentaveret Netflix thing, and it was so disappointing. Anyways, so we go to see it.
Oh yeah, that looks terrible.
It was I wanted
And
it
I
to
love
be
Mike
so
Myers.
good,
That looks
and I
terrible.
love that
but I haven't.
reference in the movie. So I killed an so I married an axe murderer when he talks about the Pentaveret. Okay, we go to see the movie Cat in the Hat. Mike Myers.
Mhm.
But there's a part where he gets kicked in the balls, and his happy place is on a swing, and that's a song that's playing, I think. And it's easy, easy like Sunday morning. And it cuts away. The theater is fairly packed. Nobody laughs except me and Julie. It is the funniest part in the whole movie by far, by like a country mile. And then since then, every time I hear that song, I think of that scene when he gets kicked in the balls by a kid and he goes to his happy place, which is being on a swing in a meadow and that song playing. Okay,
All right.
I'm done. That's it.
Okay.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Lucille Ball was a big fan of Mary Tyler Moore. She was producing the show. Dick Van Dyke, I think. So there's that too.
Okay.
I wrote that down.
Cool.
I'm done. Okay.
All right.
That's your
Thank you all for listening. It's been a great podcast. And
Did we read
wait.
something else?
Yeah, we read something else. So we read Civil War. I suggested we read Civil War. I regret suggesting that we read Civil War.
Go ahead.
I already told Hav this, but when I suggested Civil War, I said, yeah, it's Bendis' Civil War. And for some reason I thought Brian Michael Bendis wrote that, but what he did write was he was writing New Avengers and he was writing things around it at the time. So that's where I kind of got confused because Mark Waid wrote this, correct?
Mark Millar.
Mark Millar. Good Lord.
I was
I
going
got
to
the
say
Mark
either
part
either
right.
way, it's not like a lightweight was writing this.
No, it's not, but there's definitely Bendis would have made it better. No one could have saved it. There are things in it I like, but this goes back to my problem with a lot of these event books. This one, unlike Flashpoint, which we read a couple of times, that was a nice concise thing and all you had to do was read that. The only reason I could get through this is I've literally
Boom! Mark your scorecard at home.
I have literally read everything that goes around it, and that's what almost makes it good, is that you're way too late for that.
I know, sorry, I couldn't help myself. Go
Yeah.
ahead. The one I had was broken. It's got one of the dog got the foot, and so there's okay.
So I have read every, according to Marvel Unlimited, which I looked through because I thought about reading some more of the stuff. I've read everything around it. I think I even read it at one point in linear order of how you're supposed to read it. And that actually makes it a lot better because so much of the important stuff in this happens outside of the mainline miniseries.
Yeah.
I mean, just like incredibly important things. The whole Spider-Man thing happens in Spider-Man's book. And you just see a little bit of it in this. There's got to be some Captain America stuff that you see in Captain America's book. This is just kind of like this high point thing that they wanted you to. Granted, capitalism, huzzah! You have to. I didn't know if my huzzah was sarcastic enough. They wanted you to buy literally everything they were putting out when they were running this event in order to understand what the fuck was going on. So,
well, yeah. I read this when it came out, and I remember really liking it. But I think I know I would. I was picking up other titles.
You were seeing the other stuff around it. And by the way, at the time, I think the first time I read it, I was like, hey, this is great. And now I've read so many other things, even that came out before this, that were this in a lot of ways.
Well,
and that it's not as good to me now. It's not one of these things that I read that I'm like, ooh, I like it better now. Ooh, now that I'm older and have read more, this is even better because of this. It was just like, eh.
Well, you mentioned Flashpoint, which I agree. If you're reading these in a vacuum, Flashpoint much more better. I'm good
Yeah,
with the verbalistic words.
it's much more better.
It's much more
I
better.
agree. It's much more
It's
better.
it's betterest.
That's
It's
about the
betterer.
linguistic level of this podcast. You're good.
I gotta wow. Sorry.
That's what that's what the fan expects from us.
Much more. I don't know why that cracked me up so much. I'm sorry. Oh, I cracked. Oh, that was so bad. So Flashpoint. I said, concise. Okay, I think we both agreed. This one, no. Just reading it. First of all, it's 7 issues. I think Flashpoint was 5.
Yeah.
This is longer.
Yeah.
I don't feel like much happened in the 7 issues. Like you're wanting to see, well, what about that? What ended up, whether it's, on probably in Captain America's title, Spider-Man's title, the Avengers title, Fantastic Four, Sue breaking with Reed on the registration thing, going to Namor, to Submariner, and there's hey, well, how did she get his help? I'm sorry,
Well, no, all of it. Yeah, the whole thing is just it's the
They wanted you to read more titles.
It's the Avengers movies. More importantly, it's the last 2 Avengers movies. Whereas if you had not seen everything else and you watched those movies, you'd be like, "Oh, what the fuck?" I don't.
What?
And I'm not even saying you had to watch every movie, but you needed to watch some more Marvel movies before you dropped in and watched the first of the not Endgame, but
Infinity War. Well, shoot,
the
Captain
Infinity
America Civil
Gauntlet.
War.
Captain America Civil War, you needed to have at least seen a couple of Marvel movies because it was the same thing. Yeah, you needed to see Winter Soldier.
At some point,
You probably should have seen, in order to get Winter Soldier, you probably should have seen Captain America: The First Avenger. So it's important. It's easier to have seen the movies like that because they came out one at a time, whatever. With the event like this, it's like, hey, just buy every comic for the next 7 months while we release these.
Yeah.
And buy all of these comics you wouldn't normally read. I honestly do think you could have gotten away with just reading, if you read the Spider-Man on top of it, it's very helpful because a lot of the beginning of this starts out with Spider-Man because he is, at that point, Spider-Man was an Avenger. Spider-Man was living in Stark Tower with Mary Jane. He was working directly for Tony Stark.
Yeah.
And learning that Tony Stark was an absolute, complete, and total piece of shit. I think the worst thing that the Marvel movies did was make people actually think Tony Stark was kind of cool because he was played so well. Sorry. That's just...
Yeah. No, go for it. No.
God, you talk about a guy that is just... And I'll give him credit. They keep making him in the comics, even when they're trying to make more like the movies, they're still like, yeah, this dude is an asshole.
Womanizing alcoholic.
Yes. And
misogynistic, self-indulgent, narcissist.
Yes.
I mean, he says it in the movies.
Yes, but he grows.
Yeah.
They don't let him grow in the comics.
Yeah.
And even when he's no longer an alcoholic, he's still got all of the problems that he had. Although the best thing that came out of the movies was when he in the comics I was reading an Iron Man arc, and I think I've brought this up before, where he is giving Doctor Strange a hard time talking about how they're beard buddies, and because they both have the goatees.
Yeah.
And I loved that, and I kind of wish they'd have brought that into the movies.
That would have been cool.
Yes, but they didn't have very long together because, I mean, they spent all of, in real time, like, I don't know, maybe 6 hours together.
I was going to say like a day.
Yeah, I don't even know if it was a full day.
Not a whole work day.
Yeah, they jumped through the thing, they went in, they had the fight with him.
Then ashes.
Yeah, then one dies, then he comes back, and then the other dies. It's like, okay, I don't even know why Doctor Strange went to his fucking funeral.
Yeah.
That's like,
Why
are you showing up? It's not even a work acquaintance. It was a...
He actually says it's more like a professional courtesy. One of them says,
yes,
I'm not even friends with him in the movies.
So
2006. So again, to just coincidence or happenstance, to analogize again with, I would have thought this came out more recently for some reason than 2006. I didn't remember it being quite that old. I don't know why. Like, I flipped them in my head. I would have thought this came out after Flashpoint in its reverse, mid 2000s. which is still a while back. Don't
Yeah.
get me wrong, but Flashpoint was what we say 2012 or something.
Yeah.
So about 10 years.
This was one of the things that got me back into reading comics because I was still living in California and I was going to the library at the time, and I guess they tore down, they were rebuilding the library by my house. So they tore down mine, and I was having to drive to a one that had already been redone, and I found the comic book section because I hadn't found it at my little one, and I was like, holy crap, they have comic books here. And I found Civil War, and this was probably wasn't that long after it had come out in trade. So I
Yeah.
read it, and I was just pulling comics from there at the time. So that was I had just started reading again, and that was when I started buying the Ultimate Spider-Man trades online
Okay.
used.
Yeah. Yeah.
And reading those. So that was me getting back into comics. Not really buying a lot, but at least that's when I learned that you can get comics at the library, the public library. It's free, yo. You do know that the public library of the Dallas Public Library has been hacked with ransomware.
Oh my! Well, the whole, you know what? I didn't know. I don't think that I knew that it had affected the Dallas Library. I think we mentioned I'm a lawyer, day job.
This is news to me.
Oh yeah, no, I'm a lawyer.
Oh, interesting.
Okay, so that's why I'm really good with the verbalistics in the wording. There's a site that we all go to look at dockets.
Mm-hmm.
It's been there's Pacer. That's more for federal stuff.
Oh,
but
okay,
this is Odyssey. It's called
my
Odyssey
bad.
something.
I was trying to look smart and
no.
blew
Hey,
it
the
'cause it was
fact that you know
federal.
what Pacer is. No, it's been up and down.
Oh, really?
I don't have no. Oh my god, I have no idea if it's still ongoing, but it's been up and down. They've been having issues with it forever. I mean, weeks. And I didn't. So is that still ongoing with the public library?
As far as I know, yeah. I went in. I hadn't been in since they'd sent me emails about it. And I went in, and I remember I told you I requested the graphic novel for the other Uncle Sam.
That's right.
Yeah, I didn't get there in time to get it, and it was before they did that. But what happened was it had arrived, and I didn't go get it. But one of the things I've noticed with graphic novels is they don't send them back to their home library. They just restock them there.
Huh.
So
Okay.
I checked that out because I went back and found them, and so I checked it out. So I ended up actually getting it. And when I checked out that and an actual book, a novel I found to read, they told me that when I checked it out, and they did it by hand, they put it in, logged it in with my library card, my name, and they checked the two books out, and they said, we will keep those until we email you and tell you that they're due. We'll let you know because they're not up and running. But the online stuff, Hoopla and the digital library online through Libby is actually still there.
Yeah, no, I was going to say Hoopla's working.
Yeah.
Did they have the little card on the inside of the book like they used to?
No,
With their
no.
name?
I didn't pay that much attention to how she checked it out. It could be as simple as a damn spreadsheet that they're putting in the thing and what you check out and scanning it and logging the two together. It's interesting. Well, not interesting. No, that's not what it is. Okay, so when I was in there, this is a story I like. A guy was looking for a book, and so he went up to the two librarians sitting at the thing, and they didn't have the book there, and they were explaining that they couldn't order it and get it to him, but they could tell him that then they can't tell where it is because their system is messed up. And they did go.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did.
I think the mailman's here. I'm sorry. Hold
That's
on.
okay. We'll
Hey,
hold on.
guys. Yep. Good guard dogs. I mean, we kind of encourage this, I think, but
Yeah, that's fine.
that's a small dog. You heard the big dog.
I heard the
new dog.
Yeah, the first one.
Ethel.
Yeah.
Yes, we did a bit. Ethel and Lucy. Lucy and Ethel.
I got you.
Speaking of Lucille Ball. It's a full circle.
Yeah.
Round and round.
Hey, everybody got it. You didn't have to call it out.
Are you sure? Because,
Yeah.
we might have some younger listeners.
I was going to cut all this out, but then you did this, and now
Lucille Ball was
you-
an actress and comedian.
you
sorry.
think our listeners are morons.
No, that's your bit.
Well, just saying we might have
Some younger listeners.
No, that's my bit. It's what you think.
Okay. No, sure. I'll play along.
So,
All right.
So I was at the library, and a guy was looking for a book, and
Show
they didn't
off.
have it at the library. They didn't have it on the digital account, and they were telling him that he could put a hold in, and I was walking by, so I said, "Hey, you could check Hoopla," because they were like, "Oh yeah, we could check Hoopla." So they set him up with Hoopla, and I was like, "Hey, I helped the librarians, and I helped the guy find a book because it was on Hoopla, so he could download it immediately."
Did they not have the old card catalog that he could?
No, there is no card catalog there anymore. Yeah, they don't. Everything's digital. Yeah, the card catalog does not exist anymore, as far as I know. I mean, maybe in somewhere they have it, but no, I haven't seen a card catalog in forever.
I know. I'd be
I know you
surprised if they
haven't.
did.
I know you haven't been in a library in the last 30 years.
No, you know why? It's where we vote.
Yeah, but going into the utility room is not really going into the library.
No, yeah, no, they kind of shepherd you past the front desk to the left down the hallway, and
Okay, I don't know which library you
the
vote at.
books.
So okay.
It's the Lakewood.
Oh
There's
yeah,
the Lakewood
yeah. I like the
one.
Lakewood Library. They rebuilt that. I like that library a lot.
But no, I've never been there to.
To actually check out a book. Yeah.
Well, because you're fancy with
Oh
your
wait, no, not
reading.
Lakewood. The Lakewood is up. Okay, I know where the Lakewood one. I'm
over
thinking
over
of
by the golf course and Inwood Theater.
yeah.
You know where?
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, yeah. No, it's not. It hasn't been redone. That's where I had to go
No.
during COVID when you could request books and then go sit in your car and open your trunk. Mine wasn't open for a while. Then they opened mine up. You could go sit in your car and they put the books in your trunk. So
Yeah, they would.
you had to make an appointment, and it was an interesting time. I think they got rid of the appointments. You could just drive up, park, and text them that you were there, and they'd get it. But yeah, it was interesting. COVID.
So, spoiler alert, if anybody, the other thing, one other note I had about this, Speedball is the New Warriors is the precipitates all this, right? So,
yes.
I think we talked about, it's Mark Millar writing, it's Stephen McNivan is the artist.
The art was good.
Good art. I mean, good. You know, Millar is Millar. I mean, he has the Millar verse now.
No, he's a good
Jupiter's
comic book writer.
Legacy.
Yes, he's a good writer.
Stuff.
Yeah, this is a hard thing to pull off what he was doing.
Yeah,
and I mean he's pretty good on these big books, but he was
Ultimates, right? Wasn't Millar the first Ultimates writer?
Possibly. I that
Go
wasn't.
ahead, sorry. Yeah,
that was also not very good. It wasn't
the
bad.
first.
Yeah, okay, it was
art.
Yes, but they got so fucking weird on that.
It got super, dude. It got super weird.
God.
Especially when we've talked about this when they introduced Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver.
Yes, he wanted to fuck her, and she wanted to fuck robots.
No, they were.
That's fine.
They were,
and then the big fight was that then she wanted to fuck Ultron, because
sure,
or
and then Hulk
Vision.
eating people.
Yeah, Hulk eating people. The Hulk eating people was in some ways kind of funny because they got to have the whole Hulk meets Wolverine later and asks him, "Didn't I eat you once?"
Yeah,
And then you have the whole. Then when you get into after they did that, then they did the old man Logan.
Yes,
you remember that he eats him at the end. And that's how he actually kills him, is he rips him apart from the inside. So
and full circle because now he's having sex with his cousin. So you got the incest there. Remember in Old Man Logan? Wasn't he having sex with his cousin to have kids in that one? Or
Hulk? Yeah. Hulk was. Yes, that's right. Hulk was. I'm like, wait, I thought you were talking
incest.
about Logan. I'm like,
no,
what? No, what?
No.
I could see, because I was like, yeah, I could see She-Hulk and Wolverine hooking up. I mean that would not be a hard thing.
No.
They'd fuck the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
Because he could take it. Whatever. He could take it. She could rip an arm off. It'll grow back.
Oh, God. Okay.
What?
No, you're fine. Yeah. Go ahead. I'm not judging. I'm not kink shaming, as you say.
It wasn't really a kink. It was just a conversation about
ripping arms
superheroes.
off when you have sex isn't.
Well, I'm just saying that when...
That's where your brain went.
Look. I know you've never made a woman orgasm, but...
Whoa, my wife listens to this. My mom listens... Wait, no, she doesn't.
Your wife knows that too.
Oh, man. She's going to hear this and now... Oh, God. Go ahead. I'm hiding behind my mic. This is going to be awkward.
Hey, if she wants to dispute that, she knows the email address.
That's true. Oh, my God. Go ahead. For some reason, puritanical Catholic upbringing is making me all sorts of cringy right now.
Oh, I'm sure almost no one is shocked in our audience.
God damn it.
About you never pleasing a woman. So what I'm saying is there's a reaction, and sometimes you lose control a little bit, and when you're as strong as She-Hulk, you could cause harm. I mean, they've written lots about. I mean, a lot of Smallville was all about Superman having to learn to control himself in certain ways before he could lose his virginity.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah.
What were you talking about? Oh,
So
that's right. Hot
you
has never pleased a woman. That
okay? All right. No, I was waiting for the third beat there. We were one, two. There you go. Hey, good job there. So speaking of Hulk, just the incredible Hulk that is. I told Julie about this. Speaking of my lovely wife, I had a weird dream. It's not sex related. So just to so you don't get all excited.
I'm not excited about that, but I will say that says I had a weird dream. It's not sex related. It
It's sex
generally
related.
means it's, oh man, there's going to be some overtones of sex in here that he's just
It was a
horrified
weird.
about.
So I'm at this like open indoor outdoor like flea market thing, but with these really tall pillars and hallways, but it's outdoor, but not. And then I get lost, like super tall, like 5 stories tall, but just very monolithic. I get lost. I go down this hallway. The thing, Ben Grimm, is getting beat up by a monster that is like 4 times his size and like held up by the neck against a wall. And I'm just coming into the T hallway,
Mhm.
and I'm looking to my left and I'm seeing this happen. And it's super I'm in the dream. It's super realistic. Like the thing is the thing, but very monstery.
Mhm.
Like very craggly. And this monster is a huge, weird conglomeration of different animal monster, but with arms and legs. Almost like the Abomination,
Mhm.
maybe, from the comics more but not. And then I hear from my right, so that I'm looking to my left, I'm seeing this happen like 20 feet away, shitting my pants. From my right, I hear rumblings and I look and it's the Hulk coming down, not running, but walking fast. And he's huge and he's
Mhm.
very monstery, more monstery than Mark Ruffalo in the movies,
Mhm.
just big brow,
Old school Hulk.
old school, very old school, and coming to the thing's aid.
Okay.
And then knocks the monster back. Him and the thing commiserate, and then they go to town on the monster, and I'm getting the fuck out of there.
That's
And
a wise
then next
decision.
part of the dream. So
So
it was super weird
you watched the Hulk and the Thing double team a monster.
for a second. Yeah, yeah, I did. Are you proud of yourself? Yeah, you are. Yeah, you are. You're smiling like a freaking Cheshire cat there. That is awesome. Oh, I'm happy for you. Can laugh out loud. It's okay. So yeah. Anyway, I don't know. Okay, there you go. Dream time. And in that, and in that dream, at some point after that, which has happened here a couple times, when I realize I'm in a dream,
Mhm.
I to test it, I decide, well, if I'm in a dream, I can fly, and then I start flying, and then I wake up. And there's all sorts. I know.
That's funny.
Okay, so I'm done with that. Oh, did you get the Uncle Sam comic from the library? Did you
Yes.
just say
Yeah.
did you read it?
No,
Okay,
I haven't read it.
I'm
I've had
interested.
other things to read,
Okay,
like this
this
stuff we
stuff.
just read. Yes.
Okay, all right. So anyway, so we were talking about Civil War. Came out in 2006. Mark Millar. Oh, Speedball. New Warriors. They're on a reality TV show filming. School bus of children gets killed, exploded
Mhm.
in an explosion, die. Mutant Registration Act. Ha. Superhero Registration Act. And Speedball and his compatriots are to quote unquote blame.
Yes.
Reality show. Speedball was a creation of Stanley and Steve Ditko.
Yes, you are correct.
And I picked up that #1 issue because I was like, oh, wow.
I may have that too.
And then they turn him into this weird bad guy, and he goes through all sorts of
Oh,
problems after this.
he goes through some shit after this because he takes the blame. He feels it's his fault because it's very Mark Millar. And I when did Jupiter's Legacy come out?
Not too long after this?
Okay, because he
Hold
writes
on.
this, he has this. There was a lot of that kind of stuff going on in Jupiter's Legacy, the original arc with the younger superheroes. There's a reality show thing is very much on point with what was going on with this. So you got to wonder if this was a jumping up point. You also have to wonder if Marvel wasn't like, "Hey, motherfucker, we paid you to do this," and he's like, "Hey, motherfuckers, you didn't pay me shit to do that." Anyway, sorry. They don't.
2013.
Oh, so it was well after that.
Yep.
Jupiter's Legacy didn't come out till 2013. That does not sound right.
Well, Wikipedia, so
Okay.
take it for
Was that
what it
the
is.
comic or the?
The comic?
Oh, 2013. Never mind again. That's 10 years ago. Good lord.
Yeah, okay.
Holy shit. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Anyway, this was 26. Okay. So my point being, there's some similarities there to go
Yeah.
back to the, and again, same author. So they have the similar ideas that they'll appropriate into different ways. Superheroes are weird. That's not a knock. It's just when you come into things like this, it's piercing. This is kind of piercing the fourth wall a lot when they do these kind of arcs. Because the whole idea of the superhero is, yeah, they do operate outside of the law. The terrifying thing, not so much that so many of them operate outside the law, is what if you give them all a gun and a badge or training, and then the government is in charge of sending them out to do things? And then do we really trust our government with them? I mean, do we? Do you want superpowered cops?
Well, okay, so let me run with that a little bit. Do you want cops with leftover military grade weaponry? Which is
No,
what's
I
happening
don't.
a
That's
lot,
why I don't want superpowered cops.
and it's almost laughable now reading this. 2006 is not that long ago. So a school bus full of children die, and they immediately pass a law to register and essentially ban superheroes.
Yeah, they're banning superheroes because you do not have a Second Amendment right to be able to explode on command.
Exactly. Well, and exactly. So
I
it's just
mean,
so funny that they take such decisive action, and then
yes.
they've been umpteen at this
They
point
keep
thousands of
murdering
kids.
they keep murdering children in schools and refusing to do a goddamn thing except think about
But in
thoughts and
this,
prayers,
but
and then saying, "Oh, it's too so you're just trying to politicize this tragedy." Yeah, motherfucker, we are. We're trying to stop kids from getting murdered in schools.
right, and then in other countries like, and I know Second Amendment, and I'm not look well regulated militia. That's it. Australia, we just saw something where there was a tragedy at a. Were we talking a penal colony, an ex-penal colony where they first sent English to there? Over a dozen people killed. They immediately millions of guns turned in. Gun reform, semi-automatic, automatic weapons banned in months, within a year. Here, you can go back to Columbine and then Sandy Hook. There's too many. I mean, what happened here in Texas last year? The year anniversary just came and went.
Uvalde.
Yeah, Uvalde. Thank you. Again, I'm just going to harp on it a little bit more. This comic, one superhero, bad day, bus full of kids dies, boom, superhero is essentially outlawed. And fast forward to 2023, we can't even ban assault rifles.
So what you're saying is the superheroes in this are the least, or the more believable thing than the fact that Congress would react to this quickly.
Yes.
Actually, that's not. We can go a completely different way. Superheroes are a minority of the population.
Oh.
And this is as if transgenders were trying to stop. This is as if transgenders were trying to stop priests from molesting
Non-CIS.
children. Hold on. Transgender people were trying to stop a group of priests from molesting children at a school, and the bus blew up. They would then ban transgenders. That's the analogy you were actually looking for, because it would happen that quickly.
Yeah, and then employ the priest to enforce.
Oh, and yeah, they would employ the priest to enforce it, i.e. the Thunderbird, the Thundercats, the
Bolts.
Thunderbolts, thank you. Thundercats, wrong thing.
Ho!
I've never watched that. I know.
I don't even know you anymore. Okay.
Based on that, you never did.
So, yeah. So, okay, I'm done. That's the soapbox. You know, you got your bingo card.
Was that our moment of politics?
Or minutes. Yeah. So that's all. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much more there is to say. But I mean, look.
Well, we haven't really said anything about it. We've digressed and talked about other things, which is fine. I mean,
that's essentially.
That's essentially what was going on. There's different people battling it out. The greatest thing ever, and I swear we've talked about this actual scene before in another comic, but it is the whole arc with Punisher, because there's a Punisher arc in this that he brings people in and he's helping them. He helps them break into the Fantastic Four's building, the Baxter building.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden a couple of supervillains, or not even low rent supervillains show up at Captain America's thing, and they're like, "We would like to join you because we don't like this idea," and he walks in. Captain America's thinking about it. He's not necessarily going to bring them in. And he already had trepidations about the Punisher, and Punisher pulls out a gun and just murders the two of them.
Yeah.
And Captain America loses his shit. Justifiably loses his shit and beats the absolute fuck out of Punisher. Just beats him into a paste. Punisher doesn't fight back at all and Captain America is yelling at him, and he looks up and he goes, "Finish me." Punisher does, and Captain
Fight
America
back. And
fight.
Cap saying,
He's like,
why aren't you
"Fight
fighting
back!
back?
Why aren't you fighting back?" And he's like,
Be-
I
because it's
want to be
you.
you." Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is why. And Spider-Man even makes it, man, he wanted to be you. He went to Vietnam. He did all this. He wants to be you. He's just the twisted form that America has. It's real America, Captain America, instead of jingoistic Captain America that came out originally, that is a ideal of a person that's unfair. There are people like him. They are, but generally that is not who we get. The Punisher is who we get.
Yeah.
There's your moment of
And
politics, motherfucker.
well, and then everything that's happened with that, he glorified.
Yes.
The symbol is now. It's just weird.
Oh yeah.
No, I mean,
the Punisher hates cops. Dirty cops helped kill him working with the mob.
he's a. I mean, literal vigilante.
Yeah, no, he
people.
is a monster. He is not a hero.
But it is that scene. You're right. Yeah.
Going back to an old podcast, you saw that I sent you that thread from Busick about the Punisher bit from the.
Yes.
Yeah,
Where it happens off.
Yeah, JLA Avengers. Yeah, we talked about this scene where they cut when Batman has told everybody that we're not going to get involved, and then they allude to that they saw Punisher, and wasn't there a quick shot of the Punisher in the comic?
Not even.
No, there wasn't.
Even know
yeah,
they
no, they just
kind
of and then the implication is he beat the hell out of him.
Because he wasn't going to let him kill.
Yeah, he wasn't going to let him kill even drug dealers. That was that he stopped. Well, he stopped him from killing drug dealers. And Busick's like, well, we didn't say that he won the fight. I love that because he's like, well, we couldn't really show it. It wasn't even really his idea, wasn't that? But that was what he was saying. It was suggested from
that they couldn't just let it go.
Yeah,
like Batman wouldn't just.
Well, that was the thing, that he wouldn't, and they're right. That was what made that scene so good. Was there's no way he would just ignore that. So I just thought that was funny that now we're talking about this. Is kind of the same. This is what Captain America would not respect anything that the Punisher does. Because sometimes they try to act as if, oh, well, yeah, we should work with him. And no, you should just lock him up and let him kill people in prison. I don't know why he ever leaves prison.
Yeah.
Why does he keep breaking out? Just take care of him there. I mean, it's that great part of Watchmen.
Yeah. Oh.
I'm not locked in. I'm not locked in here with you. You're locked in here with me. I mean, that's brilliant.
It's pretty good. Yeah. And you know what? I like the movie.
I like that scene because it is almost frame for frame. I am amused at the problem with a lot of people that read comics that he's to them the hero of that story.
No, that's a huge problem.
Yeah. It's like, okay, guys. Yeah. The Punisher's not the hero. I get it. You can read Punisher comics and you can like that and you can look at it, but he is not a hero. He is a tragic figure that should be put down like a dog. The only reason he's not is because... Actually, I don't understand that because he's the kind of guy that the cops are going to just shoot. I mean, he gets arrested sometimes. Yeah. Oh, no, he got loose. Oh, look, he's dead. And
yeah. No, they do. I mean, they kill him at the end of the comic book and the movie, so Rorschach.
Oh, yeah. No, I went back to Punisher. But yeah.
Oh, you were talking about Punisher. Okay.
Yeah. I'm saying a cop. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So...
No, we didn't really talk a lot about that because it's a lot of action in this.
It is
a lot of big fight scenes. I get it. There's some big overarching stuff going on. Peter Parker revealing his identity, changing sides.
Changing sides was
it
was the more when he revealed himself originally, that was the out of character part. The choosing Captain America's side over Iron Man is the more Peter Parker part.
Yeah.
I agree. That was very much him. It was, I did sort of like that. And they did all of this too to lead up to a brand new day so that they could retcon a lot of that stuff, which there's positives and negatives to it.
Well, and then, just time-wise and context, this is 2 years before Iron Man, the movie, comes out.
Uh-huh.
And so it's not like the MCU's a thing. at all. I mean, it's a glimmer in the eye of Feige, I guess, at this point. And
Yeah.
really, he's not even in charge of that, at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
He has to wrestle control away from somebody. I forget his name. He was a weirdo, chauvinist, misogynistic dude before Feige gets put in charge for real. But Feige shepherds the first few. Permelter or something. Anyways. And it's just interesting to go back and read it because Civil War in name was the Captain America movie, but it's obviously vastly different
Yeah.
than this. That's my only other note I had on it. I
Okay.
don't have much more unless you do.
No, I don't really have that much on it. There were definitely things in it across everything that I liked. I liked the Spider-Man arc. I did like I liked the stance that Captain America took. I didn't like the stance that Tony Stark took, but
He's the bad guy.
Is he? Does everybody feel that way? But yeah, they've got to, because they do. He keeps going down this list of, now I've taken control of stuff, and the choices he makes are, no, we need more authoritarianism and more authoritarianism and more authoritarianism. And that's the problem with these, hey, we have to do this, is that it just gets too much. It's, where's the line?
Superman Kingdom Come.
Exactly. Yes.
Same.
And
where do you think the end game is on this? End game.
And Injustice.
Yeah.
When Superman, they kill Lois Lane, the Joker kills Lois Lane, and he takes over the world. He's like, I've had enough of this.
Yeah.
And he is not benevolent overlords do not exist.
Agree.
Yeah. And if you disagree with that, feel free to, no.
Yeah. There's now the
We're
inbox
getting
is
flooded.
Full.
What do you mean benevolent overlords don't exist?
How dare you attack America? Merca.
All right.
Merca.
So this is the time on Hub and Charles Talk Comics when we discuss what to read next time.
So I'm just going to ask, we didn't get any mail, did we?
No, we didn't get any mail. Well, we did. It was somebody suggesting ways to monetize, that they could monetize our podcast, but I decided not to read spam.
I was sad chicken. Okay. Yeah. No. Yeah. I know what I'm going to suggest, and I'm sticking to it.
What do you got?
Earth X.
Earth X? Okay.
It's 12 issues. Sorry.
Okay. That's fine. What's it on?
It's on Hoopla.
It's on Hoopla.
It's a Marvel.
Okay, it's the Marvel. Okay. All right, cool.
Have you? It sounds like you haven't read it.
I don't think I've read it.
Okay, good. I'm kind of, not that that's a deal breaker for me. I feel like the last few things I've suggested you've read, which makes sense because I've actually suggested things since the year 2000 the last couple times.
Well, I appreciate that.
And this is, I think Earth X is either right before or after the year 2000. So.
Okay. So no, I don't believe I've read it.
Okay.
I'm going to suggest Ultimate Spider-Man Miles Morales because of the Into the Spider-Verse that came out. It's his intro. It's on Marvel Unlimited because it's not on Hoopla. There's a lot of Miles Morales on it, but it's the first one. I'll screenshot what it is, and I don't know how many we're going to read. I would assume at least 6. Let's figure out where the arc is. I'll start reading it and let you know how far I get or what have you. But it's him becoming Spider-Man. It's this big leap. I mean, it was a huge leap. And
I told you before, I thought Ultimate Spider-Man was like within the first few issues.
Yeah. Oh no, this was deep, and this was right. It starts right before. I think it starts right before Peter Parker dies.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, because he doesn't immediately become, but it's been forever since I've read this, and I decided to do it because the Into the Spider-Verse 2 came out.
What? Huh?
Yeah. And so
they made a movie out of it?
Yeah.
Weird.
So I did that. And you know where he came up with the idea, right? To do Miles Morales? Because when they were casting Amazing Spider-Man when they were going to do a new Spider-Man, and the idea came up for Donald Glover.
Yeah, that's his Donald name. That is his name, I think.
Okay.
From Community?
Yes, from Community.
Played Lando?
Yes. So when that came up, that he's like, I'd love to be that, and the negativity that cascaded down. I didn't
hear about any of this. Okay.
Oh, when he was like, I'd love, somebody suggested to him, it just kind of I mean, it wasn't ever that they were going to cast him, but yeah. He was like, I would love to play Spider-Man. And it wasn't Miles Morales, it was Peter Parker. I would love to do that. And a lot of people loved the idea. And then obviously, as you could think, that they suggested a young black man be Spider-Man, a lot of people did not love it.
They lost their shit. And Bendis saw that and was like, hey, that's a good idea. And I don't remember if it was,
I don't. Right after that, I think it was the second season of Community came out. So Harmon, they did a scene where they're all waking up for the first day back, and when Troy's character wakes up, he's wearing a Spider-Man top.
Wow. Okay.
Getting up.
See?
So I swear I thought Bendis said he saw that and that reinforced it. He's like, oh my God, yeah, perfect. So, yeah.
And directors on Community? Russo brothers.
Yes, they directed a number of things. So
that's cool.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why he played the ultimate version of Prowler, who's now in the regular version, which is Miles's uncle, because he played that in Homecoming.
Huh.
Because that's the role. That's the role he's playing. Is who becomes a Prowler. Yeah, and he's even looking for stuff to break into, which is the whole Prowler thing, because he was looking for mechanized things to become a better thief.
A mile over my head.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't so. It's a character that anybody can get. It's just a good character in the movie, but then it's layered on top of that, and it puts a placeholder in case they want to do more later, kind of thing.
People losing their shit about stuff like that. Michael B. Jordan playing Superman. People lost their shit when that was suggested. Then Idris Elba being 007, which I think would be great.
Oh yeah,
he's a bad motherfucker.
He is,
and it would be great to see him playing any kind of cool role like that.
All that crap about Ariel in the live action version of The Little Mermaid.
Hey, mermaids and hobbits aren't black, Charles. Yeah. Everybody knows that. Come on. It's just
science.
It's just fact.
It's just science.
Real life.
It's science. I don't.
Okay.
Anywho.
All right. So yeah, hey, man, thank you for again doing all the heavy lifting and producing, editing, publishing the pod, and thank you to everybody for listening. Please send me an email. I get lonely.
Yes, please send Haven an email reassuring him that you actually think he's pleasured a woman.
You're just not going to let that die, are you?
Never.
Yeah. Okay.
Never. All right. Thank y'all. It was fun. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.